Hi, this is Marc with RawNutrition.com. In this video I'll be comparing the brand new Hurom Elite Slow Juicer with the previous model, the Premium Slow Juicer. The new Elite model is the SBB11. The previous model was WBB07. Basically, similar appearance. For the base, the previous model was available in white. It was a pearl white finish. The new one is silver. We had some black trim at the back. This is a pearl black with a green handle. The new one is all black at the back, no green handle. But what's inside is different. The new motor turns at 43 revolutions per minute, whereas the previous one turned at 80 revolutions per minute. Comparatively, the things like the pusher are the same. The covers look pretty much the same between the two models. So that hasn't really changed. And if I go in a little deeper, the auger, previous auger, like many other juicers like the Omega and that, single auger with a one cutting tab. The new auger has two tabs, so it's a dual blade, and it has these tips, these wing tips that will actually serve to turn the spinning brush. There's no gears on the bottom. The auger is hollowed out. The previous auger was also hollowed out, but it had these gears that would turn inside to turn around the screen. So the new setup is a little different. As I showed this in the unboxing, the new screen has a lot more stainless steel inside. Almost looks like one solid piece with a few openings for the reinforcement bars here. So that's a little bit different. The previous one was just cut up. There seems to be a lot more screen surface in the new one when I compare them than the previous model. So that's between the two. The main difference seems to be how they manage the pulp and the juice. The new one has this adjustment lever with a silicone plug, whereas our previous model was a plastic lever. You had two positions, basically the fully closed position that you would use that would keep everything inside. The pulp, everything that's inside, you'd use that for making smoothies. The new bowl looks a little smaller, at least the measurements go up to 450. This one goes up to 500. I didn't particularly measure if the holding capacity was that much different, but there is a more of a rounded out inside, so maybe it holds a little bit less liquid. Main difference is when you were juicing here, you would have it in the full open position if you wanted the least amount of pulp. So I will be juicing in the full open position because I want juice, I don't want a smoothie. If you're putting it in the closed position, everything will stay inside. The pulp will just continually turn inside and get pushed through the screen, and you'll be getting a lot more pulp in your juice. So I'll be juicing with the full open position with the previous model. With the new model, it's almost reverse because you have a clean position, which is really just to get the plug out of the way so you can clean your juicer, rinse water through, get your outlet rinsed out. You can't put your bowl on if you're in the clean position. You really have to have it in the smoothie position or the juice position. But both of them, the outlet is covered. I imagine one applies more pressure than the other. So in the juice position is pushed in all the way. You'll also notice where the pulp will go through is really small. I'll try, probably can't see it with the camera, but it's very small compared to the previous one, which you get an idea the opening in the screen. While the new one doesn't have that opening in the screen, it really just pulp just works its way to the bottom of the bowl and gets pushed out in a very small opening. Basically, that's probably to add more pressure with this new design screen, new design auger being tighter to the screen, and everything being smaller. You're really crushing and squeezing the most juice out. So we should see a difference in yield between the two. So I'll go ahead and leave it in the juice position. We'll be comparing the two juicers in their respective juice positions. The assembly, well, this is a little easier. It's pretty similar. You just have to put all your parts in and close that up. Lock it in place, and we'll assemble our folder juicer. I guess you have to line up the arrow to get this in and put in the auger. And lock our cover. Perfect. So I have to compare 2 pounds of carrots on each side, all cut up and cleaned, ready to juice. I'll put in the juice bowls and pulp collecting bowls. And I shouldn't really need my pushers, but I'll keep them aside just in case. So I'll go ahead and I'll start each one up, and we'll see our yields. I've noticed just in our previous demonstration, this motor seems to run a little quieter. It is definitely slower at 43 revolutions per minute, and this one is running faster, and it is seem a little louder when you're using it, although they are pretty quiet juicers compared to centrifuge juicers. So I'll go ahead and start. You should always start these with some product inside. It helps to lubricate the juicer, prevent any wearing of the parts, and we'll just start juicing. So as with any slow juicer, you want to slowly add your produce and let your juicer process the food. I think I will move this over a little easier. So the new juicer definitely has a smaller outlet inside, but I found that when juicing it tends to spit out where the other one mostly flowed out. So I'll just keep juicing here and see our results. It's always good never to overfeed, otherwise you'll be stopping and having to reverse. Also, overfeeding generally produces more pulp, as the pulp will work its way through the holes in the upper part of the screen, which will let more pulp through. But generally in the demonstrations I've done comparing the juicers with carrots, with 2 pounds of carrots, we usually get 400 milliliters of juice. So we'll see today if our new juicer squeezes out more juice. I choose carrots because they're pretty consistent in yield from one batch to the next. Easy to measure too on the scale. You get a pretty good comparison product. Most people juice carrots, at least a little bit of carrots mixed with other vegetables and greens. So it's a common vegetable, and that's why I choose that to do the greens. I prefer to use the whole carrots. You can buy peeled baby carrots, but I find they're not really baby carrots. They're whole carrots that are cut up into baby-sized pieces. You end up really getting a lot of core and not as much the outer of the carrot. So I'm really pouring a lot of juice. I've got a blockage here. Just put a little too much in for it. I'll just reverse and forward, and I will keep going. So probably a little louder, the two juicers on at the same time. So even though this auger has that dual blade on the top, it seems to be taking things up pretty well. I just said that, and I see a carrot sitting on top there I have to push in. So that is the one thing that the dual blade auger, I keep saying dual auger, the Tri-Best Slow Star has that, and it does reduce a little bit the uptake of the vegetables. So that's one thing to watch for, and that's definitely a comparison I will do with the Slow Star, as it definitely turns it in the same speed as the new Hurom Elite. You do have a little room on top, so you can leave a few vegetables up there while you're juicing. And let's see who will produce the most juice. I mentioned you do see some swaying. See, this one is a bit of sway as it's turning, and that's normal for these types of juicers. I see in this new version it is not moving, it's just Well, there's a little bit. No, I'm saying that there is a little bit of sway. It's gonna be a little less than that. The vegetable juice I did in my previous demonstration, it was really not moving. So I guess that's pretty normal for there to be a little bit of play in turning. So just looking at what we have in the bowls, it does look like our new model is getting more juice. I believe in the comparisons I did, the Hurom Premium didn't do as much of a yield. Didn't quite get to 400. So there you have it. We pretty much have them all. I will reverse them. Pretty much have them all completed juicing. Reverse if we get any more juice. Perfect. Okay, so definitely more juice over here. Pretty much 450 milliliters. I will filter it, but I'll just measure what we get. And in this one here, oops, there's no milliliters. It says about just almost 12 ounces, whereas over here we have 16 ounces. So I got 4 more ounces out of the same 2 pounds of carrots. I'll just get my other measuring cups and we'll filter out, see how much pulp we have in each juice. Okay. So the pulp with the new Elite juicer is smoother. It's not pieces, which is what I've noticed in my experiments juicing with it. It's a lot smoother. So we do see some pulp here, and it does feel a lot smoother. There's no little chunks that I do find in the other models. So very smooth. Pretty much just about a tablespoon like this. We'll compare on this side. Then I'll compare the yield once I've removed the pulp from the juice. Alright. So I said pretty much the same amount of pulp. It is a little chunkier. The Elite model is more smooth, and the Premium model is more chunky, but the quantity, I would say, is pretty much the same. Not seeing any difference there, just the texture is different. And as far as yield, once filtered, look on the millimeter side, we're really getting 300 milliliters. I'll put that down. 300 milliliters, and here, once filtered, we're up to 400, at least with this cup. 400 milliliters. So definitely a fair bit more juice comparatively between the two juicers. Next up, I can compare how much pulp is left in each one. Just put my plates out to gather pulp. So the pulp between the two, we pretty much have, see, definitely tighter, more compact pulp on this side. The texture is a little less chunky than the pulp over on this side. So compacts it more, compresses it more than the other one. And what's left inside, too, with a new model having the tighter space between the screen and the auger, supposed to push out more pulp, because with these single auger juicers, usually when you're done, there's always some pulp left around the auger. The screw type just doesn't push it all the way out. So pretty much a little bit on the inside here. So it's supposed to come right out. Okay, so this is pretty much what we have. And like I say, this is pretty normal. There's really no way to avoid that. The only difference I see with the new one is the pulp is definitely smoother. There are no chunks, as in the previous model. This is a little more chunky, but I would say there's really not that much difference in what's left inside once you're done juicing. Now that's pretty similar. What we're really definitely seeing here is a higher juice yield, and I would say 25% higher with this amount of carrots, 2 pounds on each side. We've got 400 to 300 milliliters with the premium model. Definitely we're getting more juice. It'd be interesting to test it against other models and also with different fruits and vegetables. Again, this is Marc with RawNutrition.com. Be sure to subscribe to our videos here on YouTube for more comparisons between juicers, and we'll have some more in this series with the new Hurom Elite HH model.